Welcome to the Smoke and Rope podcast. Today is episode 34. 34 weeks in a row we've been on the air. Excited to have Mike McCurdy. He's the head of the Michigan Cannabis Caucus of the Democratic Party of Michigan and also an executive member of the MCFC, the newly formed Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition. Mike, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's an honor to be here.
All right. And then today we got Tom Beller from Real Leaf Solutions holding down the fort. He's got a lot of great questions today. So, Tom, what's happening?
It's a beautiful day on the farm.
Good. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about all the great stuff Mike's doing. So, actually, the first time I became, aware of Mike was early on in 2017, mid 2017, when I got really heavily involved with the Dana Nessel campaign, when we were fighting against Pat Miles Jr. and just on the different chat rooms and different things going on. I saw Mike's name, saw him doing a lot. And I remember I met you, Mike, 'cause I remembered what you looked like from your Facebook, but I ran into you at the actual Cobo Hall, the Thrill in Manila there with the big snowstorm when Dana beat Pat. So it was nice meeting you then. And then since then, gotten to know Mike a lot more. He's the head of the Michigan Cannabis Caucus of the Democratic Party. He's also done a ton of work, is what we're going to get into, helping me just a ton, and has really been the person that's taken the reins and spearheaded it. But he's done a ton of work with our Michigan Cannabis Prisoner Relief Fund, and that's turned into the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition with people involved with us, national people at Last Prisoner Project. We've got Redemption Foundation, Sozo, Force Detroit, Decrim, Michigan. A lot of great members, a lot of great stuff going on. But Mike's an activist. It's kind of a combination that I guess maybe the regular political folks don't like. He's trying to do good in the world. He's not for sale, and he's incredibly smart at organizing and influencing things like this. So, Mike, thanks for being on. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you only live a couple miles away from me. Like, nice to be in the same neighborhood, and then we'll talk about the Michigan Freedom Coalition and what we're doing. So, take it away, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for that kind introduction. Just a little bit about myself. I've been a environmental activist, a human rights activist for most of my life. I'm a father and a grandfather now, so I'm more settled down than I used to be. I used to do a lot of direct action activism, out there. I was fighting for the redwood trees. Spent some time during the Second Intifada in Palestine, working with Palestinians on human rights issues, and peaceful Israelis working on the peace issue as well. So I got into political organizing in the Democratic Party, for the first Bernie Sanders campaign for president, and I really believed in Bernie, and I decided that if like that was going to be a viable option, then we had to fight for it, and we didn't get it, but I think the fight was well worth fighting, and really the coalitions that were built during that time were really what I believe helped us get Dana Nessel in as Attorney General, and kind of my next big political fight. So that's been great. I've been working with the Progressive Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party for many years now, and was asked to basically reorganize the Cannabis Caucus because they hadn't met in about a year, and they really needed somebody to take the reins. So I started doing that back, I think, in June maybe, and since then have kind of held elections so that we have statewide representation for the caucus. I think we have 16 members on our executive committee now, and we've been doing a lot of the organizing behind getting the Cannabis Freedom Coalition, Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition together, and working with Last Prisoner Project, Redemption Foundation, you Ryan, thank you, and many others. And our first success was really helping get Michael Thompson out. There was many people involved. We certainly can't take total credit for it, but we did our part. So I think we feel really good about that, and we think we're going to get more people out. So we're ready to keep going.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about I know a little bit about it, but I like to hear it about you. When people ask me questions, sometimes like, well, you got to talk to Mike. He knows, everything about what we're doing because he's in the weeds doing the work. Marshall's been great over helping organize now, and we brought in Charla and different things like that. But talk about what the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, what we're doing, what the makeup it is of it. People are just going to learn about it, and I know we just sent off a letter as well. So maybe give a little background on that and what our next steps are.
Well, gosh, there's so much to what's going on. We've built this organization really, from the ground up in a really short amount of time. We started out with informal meetings between, me representing the Cannabis Caucus and Zara Abbas, our vice chair, Ryan for Redemption Foundation. Last Prisoner Project was a central organizer, and they brought the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers to the table, which powerful organization with 40,000 defense lawyers in their ranks, ready to really give us some legal might. And our coalition keeps growing. We've got Michigan Liberation involved now, Force Detroit. We just sent a letter requesting a meeting with Governor Whitmer a few days ago, which we're waiting to hear back from still, asking for a meeting. And we had over, I think it was 15 coalition organizations on that letter, signed by over 100 members of those coalitions. So we've got some force. We've got the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers has put a program before. We provided a meeting with them and our coalition, and we put a program before Dana Nessel and the Attorney General's office that said, like, hey, look, if you guys will work with us, we're prepared to basically provide lawyers for as many prisoners as possible to file clemencies. So the NACDL, they did the clemency program for the Obama administration. They've got a clemency program running in New York State and I believe in Colorado as well. And we basically just need Gretchen Whitmer to sign on and say, yes, I will work with you. I will sign some of these clemencies, and we're ready to go. We're asking that the Whitmer administration basically direct the MDOC to create a file sharing system with the NACDL, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, so that they can more easily facilitate document sharing so that they can streamline basically the clemency process. We've gotten a list of a couple thousand names from the Attorney General's office of people who are serving time. We don't know we know it's not 100% for cannabis, but people who have cannabis involved in their offense in one way or the other. So we're looking to try to sort through that list and start filing clemencies, but we're just trying to get the governor on board.
Yeah, and it sounds like, and one thing I wanted to mention too is it's cool. I get messages now, and we've got some of the people that are listening to this show. It's a lot of the industry people in Michigan, but we also got a lot of prisoners that are picking in, listening, and they're following what you're doing, Mike. They're following what we're doing. So, definitely give a shout out to those guys and gals. And
absolutely. I was just talking to Jason Zemansky today, who's locked up doing time. Shout out to Jason if you can get a way to listen to this. He's working hard for prisoners inside, helping them with their legal work. He's got a legal mind, and he's serving time for he got violated on parole for smoking medical cannabis, even though he had his card, and he's probably looking at serving 5-6 more years because of his use of medical cannabis, and it's just atrocious. We know that's not even legal anymore, and yet there he is. He's sitting there, and if prisoners hear this, look. If you're serving time and it's related to a cannabis offense, get in touch with us. Call me, 517-488-7702. Seriously, just call me. I'll accept the call. I'll put money on the card so that you can get through. If you don't have money on your card, like we want to hear your story. We want to put your story out. We want to find you lawyers. Like we've got it. We've got resources. Ryan, principal fundraiser. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan's raised like $40,000 for us or something. So we're able to put money in people's commissary accounts. If people got families in need, we're able to give a small amount of help towards sending money to people's families. and maybe, just maybe, we're able to get you lawyers to file a clemency, and maybe we can get you out, so it's worth
That's
a try,
awesome.
right? Get in touch with us.
For sure, and I know Real Leaf, Tom and Krista were big donors to that as well. We appreciate that, and
Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah,
It's amazing. I just have a question though for people that might not understand why it would be that in the state of Michigan that cannabis has been legalized recreationally, yet we still have people that are locked up for it for whatever reason. That it's not just an automatic, okay, you're in for cannabis. We're gonna let you out, but there's more to it, right? Obviously, can you explain a little bit of that? That's kind of the process that one has to get in, to go through the process to get clemency. That it's not just an automatic. All right, it's over. You go home now.
Well, I think that's the really important thing to realize, is that they're the political make it, hey, it's over. Right now they're making us, we got to jump through hoops, and if you file your clemency, it's got to go before the parole board, a partial parole board. They can take forever to give you a hearing, and months and months. I don't know the exact schedule, but then you get your hearing. They can take months to get that to the full parole board. Once it goes before the full parole board, they make a recommendation, and only then is the governor allowed to make a decision on the clemency. They have to get a recommendation from the parole board first. So then, it goes before the governor, and that's where we're dependent on the governor to do the right thing. And so that's one level of why it's complicated. Just, is there the political will to make it happen? The second level is that who is actually serving on cannabis charges, right? And that gets complicated. Like, there's an individual we're advocating for, who a friend of Ryan's, actually, who he's got 2 cannabis
Jared.
charges on his record, but he
Patrick, what's up?
yeah, Patrick Geddes, yeah, and
A couple.
he's yeah, Ryan, why don't you tell a story real quick? Explain. He's just
Well,
one
I mean,
example.
and this is, what, as we dig down deeper and peel back the layers of the onion that is the Michigan criminal justice system, and then the countries, and probably, the most part the world, is how deep marijuana is entrenched into keeping people in it. I talk about getting out and how hard it is to get off of the paper and out of the system. It's designed to keep you there. So, like, whether it be a parole violation. But what about all these people? What about somebody like, there's Patrick. He had some charges, and it was, and I'm sure he doesn't mind talking about it. It was a different drug charge. Admitted his mistake, did it, and his time for that, and pled guilty was 7 years. But guess what? Because he had a couple cannabis small possessions when he was, late teens, early 20s, he's got a 15-year sentence. So do we really, do we really want people in prisons and jails for 7, 8 double extra years? And he's done his time. He's done 10 years, or probably. Sorry if I'm a little bit off on that, Patrick, but I know it's close to that. And so let the guy out. Like, we don't need all these trumped up, and that's stuff that never gets recorded. And there's so many people that, the enhancements, just all those type of deals that get people crazy amounts of charges. I mean, we had Weldon Angelos on with 55 years for 3 ounces. He had the trumped up enhancements, and then you bring a gun in, and even though there's not a gun there, and there you go. So it's just, and then we also found out. Sorry, I'm ranting here, but we also found out, really the as far as the parole board, that's like that whole area. That's like their own little fiefdom. Like, they've got so much power. Nobody's ever questioned it for so long, and you start seeing how some of these little government, state of Michigan government, departments run, and they run on their own full accord sometime without even stuff that the governor can do. So it's pretty amazing. There's a lot of change to be made. Michael Thompson's case is so big, so well known, so significant. So much energy went into it, but it peeled back so many layers to a lot of people of all the what was going on to the wrong.
Yeah, Michael Thompson's case is another layer right there, right? He when we asked for the Attorney General's office, we said, "Can you get us a list of cannabis prisoners?" Guess who wasn't on that list? Michael Thompson. Why? Because they had him on a gun charge, even though it was a trumped-up gun charge, all related to the sale of cannabis. Who else wasn't on that list? Rudy Gammo was not on that list. Rudy's was charged with racketeering charges for doing what? For running a medical marijuana facility. You know, so you know, we have you know, people in there for violating parole. So, you know, and then we have people who got their times significantly enhanced, you know, because they had marijuana in their record. So those are 5 different, completely different examples of how they're locking people up on cannabis that don't actually directly come back as being in prison for cannabis. And on top of that, there's still people sitting in prison just for cannabis. You know, so now we have 6 different avenues, and it's nobody really knows how to sort through the data and find out who these prisoners are. So I personally think that the way we may end up finding out a lot is simply through word of mouth. If we can get the word out to prisoners, like, hey, if you're serving time for cannabis, get in touch with us. Maybe that is actually a better route than what we're doing currently, which is trying to go through the MDOC and trying to get information that way.
Well, it sounds like stuff's kind of hidden within these files, and it's not transparent from the surface exactly what's happening with these cases.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out on that, Mike, was that we got that list. We worked with LPP, and we were the second state before Colorado, because their governor's so favorable, to even get that list. And we got that list from Dana because she's so favorable. We were like the only. So like for the most part, you go to a state. Imagine trying to get that list from Rick Snyder and Bill Schuette. Zero chance. You know, so. Just even getting that list was a big deal. So yeah, sorry to cut you off, Mike, but that was
no. You're right. You're absolutely right. And frankly, like LPP, who's working nationally, was amazed. They were like, wow, you know, they're used to spending all sorts of legal time and money trying to get this information, and we were able to just ask for it and get it. So having the cooperation of the Attorney General's office is, you know, probably what tipped the scale on Michael Thompson and got him released. And hopefully it's what tips the scale and gets us our clemency program statewide.
Now we've talked about it too, right, Mike, that, you know, we want Governor Whitmer to be a part of this and to sign on and be huge, but I think regardless, we're going to push forward no matter what. It's, you know, we're going to provide these and start filing and until we get the help. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, we exist. We're going to keep fighting for it. And, you know, certainly we'll provide what support we can. I think the reality is from the NACDL is they look at it like this. They're afraid before they go full bore and start bringing in hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteer lawyers to put in, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of legal hours. They just want some kind of commitment from the Whitmer administration that they're not just going to let all these petitions just sit there and rot, because that's a big commitment to make without, you know, and you know, the governor's got to meet with us, right? You know, we've. You know, it's been a few days since we turned in our last letter. It's probably the 3rd time we've asked for a meeting, but this is the real ask. This is the time, you know, that I think she's really got to come to the table with us this time. If she doesn't, we're going to have to just, you know, it's going to have to be a big public campaign. And speaking of that, we do have the letter we wrote her with over, you know, 100, you know, organizations and people having signed on to it. That is, those are all coalition members who are on there now. We are going to be opening that letter up. The Sarah Gersten from Last Prisoner Project, she's creating the format right now, and we are going to start sending that around to our coalition members to start distributing to the general community, so people all over Michigan will be able to sign on to that letter and really let the governor know that we want her to cooperate with this clemency program, that it is that the people are ready for it.
And that's awesome, because there's so many of these cannabis companies now have staff, and to the point now where some of these companies have people that are just on staff for social equity. So this is something. The time's right. Anyone out there listening to this, please get a hold of us. You can, like, you got Mike's number now. It was earlier, but you got Ryan B at Redemption Canna, and you got Instagram and Facebook message. We want to get you that letter, and then you know, we're definitely looking for more organizations to join us. It's happened so fast, so quick. Michigan's kind of at the tip of the spear now on a lot of this stuff going on in the country, and we're getting a lot of national help because of the situation here in the climate. So, Mike, what are we looking for in members, and how soon are we ready to start accepting more?
I think we're ready. It's just get in touch with us. We're not doing a lot of outreach currently because we've just kind of quadrupled in size, so we're kind of absorbing the members we have now. But that doesn't mean that if you're interested that we won't process and figure out how to get you involved. And really what we're looking for in members is we don't just want your name to throw on a list of members. All of our members are actually active. They're doing things, contacting prisoners on our behalf, being that person who answers the phone when a prisoner calls, that person who sets up the JPay account. We've got 4 different committees people are serving on. We've got a policy committee that's really exciting. Just starting to get our feet wet on it, but we've got some really good policy people on there. We're connecting to national policy people, and we've got lawmakers listening to us. So we're going to be heavily involved in cannabis policy statewide and maybe even nationally. So that committee is really exciting. So if you have expertise like that, in cannabis policy, that'd be a great place for somebody from your organization to sit on that committee. We've got a prisoner outreach committee. People on the prisoner outreach committee are basically doing that. We find out somebody's in for cannabis. We need somebody who's going to be in charge of talking to that prisoner, somebody who's going to be in charge of that case. We've got a media committee for people with media expertise. Can help with communication, social media, that kind of thing. So we've got a great talented committee for that. When we do press releases, doing press outreach stuff of that sort. We're probably going to be doing some short commercial type stuff. We're putting together something right now, or about to be, for Hash Bash. To tell people about our coalition. Something pre-recorded so we can really create something nice, and we need to tell prisoner stories. So if you've got those sort of skills, if you're media savvy, if you know how to work, how to put somebody's story to paper, to film, that's kind of skill. Again, we're looking for coalition members, and the last committee is coalition outreach. So finding new members for our coalition. If you're somebody connected in the cannabis community, connected around the state, and people who want to be involved at helping, join our coalition building committee, because we want to get bigger, we want to get stronger. The stronger we get, the more prisoners we're going to get out. I really think that's what it comes down to. So yeah, that's what we're doing. If people are interested in joining, please get in touch with me, Ryan, and we'll get you in, because there's a lot of work to be done, and we need help. It's we all have day jobs, right? None of us are getting paid to do this work, so it's how do you squeeze it in around the edges, and the way you do that is have lots of people helping.
The clemency is a huge issue that needs to be worked out, but are there other things, other priorities you guys have your sights on right now?
I think that our policy committee has just started meeting, and I think they're going to start working out other policy agendas for us, but we really don't have it there. And the thing is about clemency is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on cannabis reform, and it's already happening. People are doing it, right? And we want to be involved in it, but our coalition, we have a clemency program. We've got an entire program. We've got the lawyers to back it up. We've got it all, and we're laying it at the feet of the governor, and the Whitmer administration. Mm-hmm. So this is ours. If we don't do this, nobody's going to do this. It's not going to happen. Where there's tons of other work out there to be doing, cannabis related. But this is our spearhead at this point. Right. We're going to grow. We're going to branch out. But that is our main push.
Well, what are the biggest hurdles to clemency, other than obviously getting the governor involved? What exactly are the other things that need to be worked on?
Well, I would say the biggest hurdle is, well, I mean, if the governor signs on, if the governor comes on board, we've got it. We've got it. We've got all the lawyers lined up. We've got the program. We've got the expertise. We've got funding. We've got it all. And we've even got like media savvy people ready to begin publicly advocating on behalf of all the prisoners who apply in the program. So we've got the program, it's not oversimplifying it to say literally all we need is Whitmer on board. That's all we need. That is the hurdle. After that, finding the prisoners who qualify is going to be simple. I have to believe once we start getting people out, once people hear that there's a way out, they're going to come to us.
Word's going to spread through the system fast when that starts happening real fast.
Exactly. So we have to be, thank God we're really, our coalition, we've got limited resources as far as like how much can we do? But the reality is overall we're not limited on how many clemencies we can file, because we've got the big guns behind us. We've got big national guns behind us who are saying we will file clemencies for everybody. Just bring us the names, give us the criteria, we will do the work. And that's the NACDL, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. Their executive director, Norm Reamer, and another one of their high-level people, Stephen, they come to our meetings. They come to all of our meetings. They call me. They have private meetings. They want to be here. They want to be doing the clemency work. They believe in us, and basically they're just asking us, hey, get us to the table with the governor, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it feels like we're so close we can touch it. But and Mike, you were down there. Talked to Michael. We talked a little about Michael Thompson, but you were down there when he got out. I was down there. What an incredible moment. And then you've had the honor of spending some time with Michael recently. I know I was on the Jazz Cabbage Cafe podcast with Michael, and you were on there as well recently. And just kind of tell me what that's been like. Like kind of Michael's reaction. I know it's been pretty inspiring to see how fired up he is about criminal justice reform. But kind of talk about that, from him getting out to now working with us.
Yeah, I mean, having Michael join our coalition is huge. We have so much to learn from him. Every time I sit with him and listen to him, I mean, it's frankly, it's heart-wrenching because he knows, right? He knows what's going on. He knows so many people behind bars who don't belong there. And that's what I think Michael's going to do is he's going to guide us. We're going to win. We're going to get this clemency program. We're going to force open that door to get cannabis people out, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think Michael's here to remind us of that. It's not really about cannabis at the end of the day. The system locks up all sorts of people who don't belong there. It's outrageous. I mean, we got over 40,000 people just in Michigan. 40,000 people. I mean, that's crazy. It's absurd. And so when we start, once we get this door wedged open with cannabis, I think Michael Thompson's going to help us push it open a little further. I'd like to see us. One thing he talks about is all the elders that are locked up, who are clearly no threat to society. Our prisons are basically turning into very poor versions of nursing homes, and there's no reason for this. My hope is another step for the clemency program will be filing a clemency for everybody over 65, for example. If you want to keep someone locked up past the age of 65, you better have a damn good reason, right? And it's I think he's got a lot to teach. The stories he brings out of the food that they're feeding people, of the sexual abuse that's happening, that's permitted, that's allowed, just of the way prison guards treat people like animals. It's horrible, and I think we all know it, but on some level. But hearing it directly from Michael, just having experienced it so unjustly for so many years, it brings a really strong voice to the table. And I think we really need to follow his leadership and see where he takes us.
Yeah,
Well, you can see
it's
the
hard.
kind of progress that's made when they stop treating everything like it's a criminal situation and start treating situations with compassion and, sending social workers instead of police to situations that don't need police officers. There's so many things from people that are locked up and things we can do to prevent people from being locked up in the future for unnecessary things, especially drug crimes.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we've done, um, I've been involved in, part of getting Dana Nessel elected is also electing progressive prosecutors, progressive judges. You know, these positions are elected, and honestly, they're, as far as elections that can be won, they're pretty low hanging fruit. And I tell you, for every, if you think about how hard we're willing to fight to get one Michael Thompson out of prison, every progressive prosecutor we get elected probably keeps, a couple dozen Michael Thompsons out of prisons, if not more. So we can really nip a lot of these problems in the bud just by organizing locally in communities and making sure that sadistic monsters aren't getting put into places of power. At the end of the day.
Yeah, but we were lucky to get rid of one, Jessica Cooper, and we got Karen McDonald in Oakland County, and obviously everybody is excited about Washtenaw County, and I always say his name wrong, but Eli Savitt. Sorry, Eli, or Ellie. Sorry, Ellie Savitt. But speaking of that, so the little trip down memory lane, history lane, we always do that here because Michigan's so rich in cannabis history, but then political history is, like we talked about earlier, I started becoming aware of Dana when I met her early on, Panera, and we started going, and then I started being around and learning what was really going on, and it was something I believe, I know you helped construct and figure out early on, as far as like, hey, here's a real game plan and here's a situation. And the Attorney General race in Michigan for the Democratic Party, it comes down to, isn't it each precinct or each area that votes, and it's the same amount. So like you get Dana in front of enough people because she's a force of nature, and Pat Miles Jr. is such a dud. Like here's a situation where the party elite have their hands tied, and so talk about that. It was pretty amazing. I walked into it, and I mean, we call it lightning in a bottle. There's no other way about it. Our friend Bob Baldori always tells me that and in the midst of it, he was starting to talk about it. It's like, this is once in a lifetime type deal. Everything came together perfectly. So tell us your part, and most people don't know about it.
Well, from my perspective, I was working. I had founded a group called the Progressive Caucus of Mid Michigan, and we were a subset of the statewide Progressive Caucus. And we were having meetings in my backyard. We had pretty low key, we'd smoke and drink around my bonfire and have our meetings. And it's Robert Van Kirk. He was an activist, and he said, hey, he had contacted me and trying to tell me about his friend Dana, who was going to run for Attorney General, and he was part of our Progressive Caucus. So I said, well, come to our meeting, come tell us about it. And he came out, and he talked her up, and I said, well, this sounds great. Let's put on an event for her. This seems like, and it was early on. This was, before anybody knew who Dana was. Nobody was talking about the Attorney General's race. Nobody was really aware there was an Attorney General's race. And we put an event on for her at MSU, brought her to speak. I organized my ass off for it, honestly. I called everybody I knew. I bought Facebook ads. I issued press releases. The Progressive Caucus in Mid-Michigan pulled out all the stops. Got my parents there. Called friends and twisted their arms to come. I got about 22, 23 people there. That's how famous Dana was at the time, right? And how much nobody cared. But it was enough. It was enough because what we did was we live streamed that event. We set up a podium, we put a banner, Progressive Caucus Mid-Michigan behind her, we made it look all official, had flags, and we put that out to the state. We bought Facebook ads to progressives targeting progressive Democrats all over the state. And we said, look, you guys, we have over a year, and all we have to do is swing this election that only less than 10,000 people are going to vote in. All we have to do is show up. All we have to do is join the Michigan Democratic Party and show up and we literally can decide who the next attorney general is going to be. You know, it was pretty seemed like a done deal that it was going to be a Democrat. So that meant it was all decided. There's no primary. It's all decided at the Michigan Democratic Party convention, which typically has less than 10,000 people. And when I found that out, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I just spent the next year, however long, it was a little over a year, I think, of my life with my sole purpose saying like all my activism directed towards, hey, let's pick the next attorney general, right? And the day of it, you know, we had a whole, you know, just in my local community, we had a giant bus,
In a
you know,
blizzard.
chartered to go, and I was terrified. I went to pick up my buddy because this is how it was. We had it. We were able to advertise. We're like, if you want to go, we will pick you up at your house. We will take you to the bus. We will drive you to the convention. We will feed you along the way. You know, we just we made it as easy as possible for people. And my buddy, I couldn't get him out of bed, so I had to show up. You know, I was a little, and I was terrified. I was going to get there, and nobody was going to be there because the roads were coated in like an inch of ice. I mean, it was one of those mornings where you come out and you can't get into your vehicle because it's completely coated in ice. Your handle, the windshield, everything. It was a nasty ice storm, and I can tell you, I walked onto that bus, and it was full. And I couldn't believe it. I was so relieved because frankly, I thought like, did I charter this bus and is it going to be like empty? Is this just going to be a total fail? All these efforts, and it was full. And we got to the convention, and when
Like
it was
a rock
time to
concert
vote,
down there.
the whole auditorium just started chanting Dana's name, and it was just clear. It was like, oh my God, we won. We've got this. We just won the day, and every step of the way everybody who was used to running the Democratic Party, everybody who was, they mocked us. They made fun of us. They called us names. They belittled us. They said, you guys have no chance. Labor decides this stuff. You guys don't get a voice. You guys are just idiots. You're wasting all your time and efforts. And so like, instead of embracing like sort of this new progressive energy within the party, they mocked us, they belittled us, and we got there and we won. And I think it changed, frankly, Michigan politics forever within the Democratic Party.
It did. It was. I mean, I never forget it because, you know, I got to. That's when Pat Miles Jr. Had to give his concession speech, and I blocked the railing. And what's his what was it? I already got her. Oh, Jen Strayer had to walk right past me too. You know, they spent over $100,000 in Facebook trolls to battle me, Baldori, and Jamie and Rick on this Democratic Party forum. So I still think about that, and I look back at it, and I was just like, first of all, you're out of your mind, Ryan. And then the next part was, you know, wow, like that actually happened. So, you know, but look what we get to do now. Like, it's the butterfly effect. We get to have all these national peoples like Norm Reimer and the NACDL and LPP come in and take us and really put Michigan on the map as the leader in criminal justice reform because of that effort, you know. So like, what a difference that's made, you know, and everything we're trying to do. So, but those are the origins. So a lot of people don't know about that. But it's pretty fascinating. I've been in that backyard a few times for the bonfire. So
Yeah, a lot of things get decided there.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Well, I mean, this is awesome stuff. A lot of people didn't know about that, but also we're gonna wrap up. But before that, I want to let Tom say a few words goodbye, and then also you, Mike, too. And when you do, Mike, let people know you know how to get a hold of us and all that. But first off, Tom Beller, Real Leaf.
Just wanted to thank Mike for being on and for all of his efforts throughout the years. And Dana's Attorney General Nessel is amazing. She's an amazing woman. And progressive is not a dirty word. We need more progressives. Keep going. Keep pushing. You know, we've got your back. And, yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, what any last words for everybody? Prisoners out there, people get a hold of you.
We got mifreedomcoalition.com,
Mhm.
mifreedomcoalition.com. Find us. We'll be finding you too. You know, you can find us on Facebook. You know, also the Cannabis Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party. That's I'm the chair of the Cannabis Caucus. You know, we're allowed to do the political work, and my Freedom Coalition is going to be doing the work to get prisoners out. Cannabis Caucus, we're going to be doing the work to get progressive prosecutors elected, progressive judges. You know, progressive politicians, people who will truly work to change cannabis laws so that everybody's allowed to grow, everybody's allowed to smoke. You know, our overall position is that we think people should be able to do what we've always done. I should be able to walk over to my neighbors and buy a bag and smoke a joint with him and not be violating any laws. You know, that's our position. You know, we legalized it to legalize it. We didn't legalize it to change whose doors were getting kicked in. You know, we legalized it because nobody belongs in prison or jail, you know, or getting arrested in any way for cannabis. So we're going to keep fighting for that. So yeah, look us up. You know, we're always looking for volunteers, people to help. You know, so thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on, Mike and Tom. Thanks for helping carry the load today. Kevin will be back next week. But you know, this is something to think about. Like two things here. Uh, People like to, you know, it's become a lot of people like to complain online, in person, whatever. This isn't getting done. What can we do? Well, here's you know, you heard stories today about a few people getting together, working hard, continuously fighting, and getting the Attorney General of Michigan elected, and working locally to get a prosecutor's elected or rep. So like it's all effort. It's not glamorous. I tell you, it sucks sometimes. I'm sure Mike can agree. You want to go to bed when you get home. Sometimes there's 6 or 7, but you got 5 more phone calls to make and another Zoom, and next thing you know it's 10 o'clock, and you know you're delirious. So like, but that's what it takes. People out there in jail, and we're not. So one other point is all the people out there are new into cannabis, and you talk about, you know, they went around to making it legal and all the activism. We got a lot of activism to do. Please help out, step up. You know, it's really all our obligations, and I really look at it as a lot of the new people getting into it are getting to benefit from the wonderful plant and this new industry we helped create. But you know, help us out, help us fight to get people out of jail for it. So with that, appreciate it again, Mike and Tom, and I'll see everybody next week.